Oh, I was sick, man. Completely sick to my stomach. That I missed Isiah Thomas coming on the south side of Chicago to speak. And not only did I miss that, but the fact that it was on First Take, ESPN, and people I knew got invited and was there. Took video and photo. And I had to watch Isiah Thomas give this speech on the internet and watch the show later on social media. Because I was asleep. I slept through the whole thing. I wake up, I got messages. People was like, man, I see why you say Isiah Thomas is the best basketball player and he's the smartest guy out there. I'm like, man, I missed this show. And he's talking from the south side of Chicago. Let me get out here and hear what Zeke had to say. And it's funny because I said the same thing 3 years ago. I'll send you the link to the interview in the description box. I had the same conversation with Juan Serial. And this is the movement of what the Nate Jones Foundation is about. Academics. And having people be involved in sports and activity, recreation. Where I live now, like I was telling people, they have parks. They have arcades to go to. Remember the arcade room in the 80s? That used to be the bomb for us. We used to go to the mall to go to the arcade rooms. They used to have certain hanging areas and meeting grounds where you could meet people and communicate. And when you have these type of rec centers in the area that should be basically funded by the government. But the government's saying we don't have the money for the funds. But what it does is it creates dialogue so that people get to know each other. Just like he said, it lessens the conflict between two. Because you guys had a chance to meet. If kids don't have an outlet, they don't have jobs, they don't have a place that could teach them trades or, you know, any type of recreational hall, they have nothing else to do but get in trouble. They go outside, hang out, hang around, get with bad influence, start smoking weed, doing drugs, and get in conflict. The same things the reason I got involved with the Nate Jones Foundation is when I said, okay, well, what is the goal of the foundation? I didn't say, hey man, you my boy, Nate. I'm just jumping in because you my boy, and I said I'll get involved if I know what the goal of the foundation is. Then I'll co-sign it. And once they sat down, told me what the goal was, I said, well, I would love to be a part of helping, being a part of reaching that type of goal. But I was just more excited that Isiah Thomas took the time to make an epic show by putting a light on Chicago inner city problems and bringing the solution to the problem, or the start of a solution, to the forefront. Because we've stated this before. Everyone knows what the problem is. Is the city going to be willing to fix it? But it needs a voice bigger than mine, bigger than the Nate Jones Foundation, bigger than probably anybody in the sport, to have a platform like ESPN where everybody's going to watch it, everybody's going to see it. Then you have one of the most intelligent human minds that ever played the game of basketball, hands down. Not only as a great player, one of the best, in my opinion, the best player to ever play the game, Isiah Thomas explained to you what it is. This is the difference. Now the city has to respond. Now it's a public issue. Now it's going to people's households. I'm not big at all. Especially not to ruffle a couple of people's feathers. But I can educate the few that I run into on social media. And when I said this in 2013 was because the people that was involved who wanted to sponsor it at the time, they may have had other motives, but overall the point got across. The interview is not even on my platform because it wasn't even supposed to be for that. This was basically the first video that they were going to do under this new platform of theirs. But how far that went and where that was going to go, it was completely up to them, not us. And I wish them nothing but the best in what they did. But I was glad that they provided a platform to even be heard, to want to push it through the communities. Because where we live out here is completely different from where I used to live. Because when I lived there, we had outlets. Now those outlets are cut off for these younger kids. So even though I lived in the city, I didn't live in it under the conditions it is right now. When it was getting this bad, I was already a grown man. So when we grew up in the inner city, of course you had some things that were bad, but we had options. We can go down to the candy store, we can hang out in the neighborhood, go to our own park and do whatever we wanted in the neighborhood without getting in trouble. Kids actually went out and played. There was no social media. There wasn't all this distraction. It wasn't all this avenues of separation. Most people now are friends with people for years and they never met them in real life or person or anything. They know them exclusively from social media. When before, you went outside to meet your neighbors. You went outside to meet your friends. You guys had to have a meeting ground like the malls and all of this stuff. But where I stay, there's countless areas of meeting grounds for people to come together. They have like the pumpkin fest, or it's a fest every week in summer out here. There's an amusement park for the city. The police department throw a party for the people. They get to eat for free and come out and hang out, and it's a community type thing. They have their playground all designed for them to hang out at. They have a movie theater in their neighborhood they can hang out at. They have malls, strip malls, ice cream parlor shops. It's like everywhere you go, there's an area you could go to communicate. They have their little ice skating rinks. And in these cities, they have like lack of jobs. People got to come all the way to where I live, taking 2 and 3 buses to try to get here. To try to go to work. 2 buses, 2 trains. That's just to come to work. Because of the lack of jobs that's in the city of Chicago. Now, where does that fall? Whose head does that fall upon? Does it fall upon the government and the city officials? Yes. This is their job. Their job is to make the city safer. Rahm Emanuel, who didn't want the job, shouldn't have it. He should have been replaced as mayor. All those city officials need to be replaced, and then we should elect those in power who want to get things done the right way and fix it and not try to band-aid a problem. You see, people want to blame Like, oh my gosh, that guy shot that guy. You don't know why he shot him. You don't know what that other guy has done. There's a situation where a guy got shot and he was basically hiding out because he had raped and was accused of rape because he denied doing it of an 11-year-old girl over one of his friends' house. He stayed over there, went in a room, and raped the 11-year-old girl, allegedly. So, when they found out what he did, he was in hiding. And when he came out, he got shot. And everybody on Facebook has got rest in peace to this guy. And talking about what a great guy he was, even on the news. And they didn't even know what he did. The people who was riding around looking for him was looking for him because of what he did. Wasn't a gang hit, wasn't a gang war, wasn't drugs. They brought up everything in the book that this could have been drugs, this could have been this. Never did anybody bring up what the real problem was. But yet, that guy was treated as part of a hero, and we got to stop the violence. And sure enough, we got to stop the violence. But what is the cause and effects of this? And even when they say it's drugs. Okay, where did the drugs come from? How do we stop the drug flow problem that's in these areas? How are the drugs getting in the areas? Nobody from 63rd Street flew over to Columbia, got some cocaine, flew it back over here, and decided that he finna cook up some crack. Okay? Nobody from 55th or 53rd flew over to the Italy or Colombia or Mexico and bought a bunch of guns and flew all the way back and said, okay, now we got guns. Okay? How are these guns, and I mean these are like high-priced weaponry, how is that getting in the community with the drugs? It shouldn't be. It doesn't make sense. And if something doesn't make sense, then something's awry. How are they frequently getting access to this type of weaponry on the streets? I mean, the type of guns that these people got now this is not your average AKs. They got like AR-15s almost. How are they getting these guns in these poverty-stricken neighborhoods? Are the gun shops getting them to these criminals? The police, if they're investigating something, this shouldn't be that hard to figure out if you're investigating it. Because that's the pipeline. If you're doing an investigation and you're a detective, your job is to cut off the pipeline. If you can cut off and block the pipeline of the distributors, then those guys are going to fold because they have nothing coming in. Then they'll be able to roll over and tell on connects and everything else because they're dried out in the streets. So you cut that pipeline off. Then you easily know who's doing what and how. But since it's still coming in, the questions need to be put to them. How are the drugs coming in the community? Who's bringing them over? Where are the guns coming from? Why you can't cut off the pipeline? What are you doing to cut off the pipeline? What are you doing to bring jobs into the community over there in the city? What are you going to do for Inglewood? What are you going to do for the Hunnits? What are you going to do for the south side of the city of Chicago? What you going to do for the west side of the city of Chicago? What are you doing? Period. Anybody can criticize. But what are you going to do? That's the question. So I'll send the video link to you guys in the description box, and you guys can tell me what you think. Other than that, I won't keep you long. I'm out.